Introduction to Jianxing Zhutian. A story of an ordinary young man from the lower class in modern society who, due to unemployment, unintentionally shuttles through different worlds with the help of a gourd imprint and gradually becomes stronger. Currently experiencing the world's Buddha palm, divine sculpture, heavenly dragon, twin dragons of the Tang Dynasty, Fengyun. Chapter 1. The Journey of the Buddha's Palm. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. The Journey of the Buddha's Palm. Xiaoyu, male, from China, with an unknown zodiac sign, no car or house, unmarried. He is an orphan in his early 30s and currently works as a qualified technician in a factory in the island city. Strangely enough, a few days ago, Xiaoyu caught a bad cold while accompanying her leader on a eat and drink well task. Therefore, now Xiaoyu is taking leave and returning to the rented house to recuperate. Anyway, since 2020, Xiaoyu has felt that she has not been going smoothly. Just now, Xiaoyu received a call from the factory leader again. Under the coercion of the abnormal leader, Xiaoyu struggled helplessly and had to grit her teeth to go to the factory first. Xiaoyu could only lament that poor people cannot get sick. Xiaoyu had to take some medicine in advance, put on some clothes, walked to the rental house, got downstairs, and walked towards the nearby bus stop. On the way, Xiaoyu suddenly saw a person riding a bicycle with a big string of gourds tied to it. Xiaoyu was walking forward a few steps, and suddenly stopped. Xiaoyu thought that he saw a little brother saying something like, "transfer gourd," in TikTok yesterday. Xiaoyu wondered whether he should also transfer. Recently, the market is not good. Xiaoyu quickly returned and saw the middle-aged man pushing his bicycle and waiting for the traffic lights. Xiaoyu quickly walked over and asked, "Big brother, how are these gourds sold?" The person glanced at Xiaoyu and frowned, but still said, 10 yuan each, choose whatever you want. Xiaoyu took out a 10 yuan note from his pocket, and was ready to choose one for himself, just as brother TikTok said. But the gourd seller casually handed Xiaoyu one and ran away with his bicycle. It was the traffic light. Xiaoyu opened her mouth and didn't know what to say. She should have chosen the gourd first before giving the money. Xiaoyu regretted it again and cursed herself a few times. Xiaoyu is always easy to trust others because she has suffered losses several times. Okay, bear it. Xiaoyu put the small gourd in his pocket and quickly walked towards the bus stop. The leader said it was serious and didn't delay. He accepted even the salary deduction and just didn't lose his job. After shaking for a long time, I finally arrived at the factory. As soon as I arrived, I ran into an acquaintance named Dali. When Dali saw Xiaoyu, his face became complicated and he asked Xiaoyu to go to the bulletin board and then go find Manager Nyo. Xiaoyu didn't think it was good, but she didn't think much about it. She went to the bulletin board first and saw that he was confused. It turned out to be a punishment decision for herself. Because of her behavior, she was fired. Being fired. Oh my goodness. Oh my earth. What's going on? Isn't it just sick and taking a leave? Not to be fired, right? Xiaoyu quickly walked to the office in a fit of anger. He wanted to find Manager Nyo who brought him into the factory and inquire about the situation. But soon Xiaoyu left with some sadness. Manager Nyo made a mistake. If Manager Nyo wants to maintain his current position, he still has a big family to raise. In order not to affect his life, he can only find someone to take responsibility. Xiaoyu, who comes from an orphan background, has no power or influence, a weak personality, and was recruited into the factory by himself, is undoubtedly a good candidate. Xiaoyu is not a person with a particularly strong personality, and after living in society for so long, he knows some tricks. He knows that packing things now makes it easy for everyone to gather and disperse. Even if it's really noisy, it can't be any better. However, both parties are injured, and perhaps he will suffer even more. However, Xiaoyu felt a little sad in her heart. She had been sacrificed again, but fortunately, she also paid a sealing fee of 20,000 yuan in the envelope, which was somewhat comforting. Because of some things, Xiaoyu rarely indulged in luxury and stopped a taxi, bringing his miscellaneous items back to the rental house. Just unwilling to accept it. Xiaoyu, who returned home and lay in bed, murmured to herself. I felt my pocket bulging, took it out, and thought it was a small gourd I bought for 10 yuan in the morning. Thinking of transferring, who knew they had lost their job? It was also enough, so she forcefully pinched the gourd with her right hand, but suddenly her hand hurt like a needle prick, and then Xiaoyu fell asleep on the bed. Just at this moment, Xiaoyu tightly grasped the small gourd in his hand and began to slowly fade, quickly becoming a small gourd-like mark, imprinted on Xiaoyu's palm. At dawn, in the inn, Xiaoyu saw off Duan Fei and Tu Xuehua who had come to visit in his guest room. Of course, Xiaoyu also thanked these two people once again for their life-saving kindness. These two life-saving benefactors walked a little further away, and Xiaoyu returned to the room. Then, Xiaoyu looked hard at the gourd mark on his right palm. Although Xiaoyu had no expression on his face, he was still very depressed in his heart. Xiaoyu still hasn't figured out what's going on. She was just fired by the factory and returned to the rental house, considering that drinking and smoking cost money. Xiaoyu wanted to tuck herself into the bed to relieve 1,000 worries, but unexpectedly, Xiaoyu was pricked by the transport gourd she bought. Then, Xiaoyu went to this ancient feudal society where everyone wore ancient clothes, spoke with great precision, and both men and women had long hair. Fortunately, the person Xiaoyu is currently possessed by is also known as Xiaoyu. In addition to having long hair, his appearance and body shape are still similar, which gives Xiaoyu some comfort. Moreover, what is important is that Xiaoyu has preserved the memory of his own body, invisibly saving him a lot of trouble. Xiaoyu knew from his own memory that the current Xiaoyu seemed to have traveled back to the terrifying feudal society of ancient times. The current court was called the Qian, and although Xiaoyu himself did not graduate from junior high school, it seemed that this dynasty did not exist in his knowledge of history. However, this memory of Xiaoyu's background is quite bizarre. When he was 19 years old, his father was originally a prince's official in the court. Later, it seemed that the prince was falsely accused of rebellion by another prince, and was executed by the emperor at that time. Xiaoyu's family was also implicated and killed due to this incident. At that time, he happened to be on a study tour and was not at home, barely escaping his life. Later, with the help of his father's friend, he hid in Shaolin Temple for 2 years. In the past 2 years, although Shaolin Temple has often practiced hard and recited Buddhist scriptures with the drums and morning bells, they still often simulate scenes of their parents and younger sisters being killed in their hearts. Their anger has greatly increased, and they want to seek revenge and even secretly learn Shaolin Temple's advanced martial arts. But at this moment, a new emperor suddenly ascended to the throne. This new emperor had a good relationship with the prince who served as the father of Xiaoyu back then. With the advice of some kind-hearted people, the Xiaoyu family was vindicated by the current court and a new sacrifice was established. Now, Xiaoyu can also be considered a great revenge. Then, under the settlement of the new emperor, the enemy of Xiaoyu himself had already died, and the new emperor, at the request of a friend of Xiaoyu's own father, during his lifetime, surprisingly received some titles again. Now Xiaoyu was lost. After returning home, she first observed filial piety for her parents for 3 years, and then relied on her reading of several medical books to become a wandering doctor, wandering the world in search of the meaning of her existence. By the way, when it comes to martial arts, this is truly a magical existence. When Xiaoyu was in junior high school, he was always bullied because of his orphan status. Later, when he couldn't bear it anymore, Xiaoyu got into a fight with the other party. I couldn't stop this fight. Later, I had a group fight with a martial arts school student, and of course, I was expelled from the school because of this, so I had to work all over the world. But at that time, I didn't realize how powerful those martial arts school students were, and they were even knocked down several times by Xiaoyu bricks. Later, Xiaoyu learned that in today's country, martial arts is just a sport, similar to fitness exercises and gymnastics, mainly used for physical performance. But martial arts in this world seem different. It seems that with martial arts, people can jump very high, run very fast, and even kill people from afar. This is something that Xiaoyu has personally witnessed in his memory. Xiaoyu's heart suddenly became curious. She remembered that she had learned some martial arts techniques at Shaolin Temple, such as breathing and punching, and now she often practices them to strengthen her body. Thinking of this, Xiaoyu quickly gave it a try in the room. In her memory, she had a 4-square horse stance, which was not bad, very stable, and had a somewhat beautiful appearance. However, after only a while, Xiaoyu felt a bit dizzy, perhaps because she had been soaking in the water for a long time. Xiaoyu sat back on the bed and tried a breathing technique passed down from Shaolin Temple in her memory. Because her body was accustomed to memory, it went smoothly. After breathing for a period of time, she felt that her mental and physical state had recovered a lot, and she was just hungry. Then Xiaoyu began to complain in his heart again. This damn foolish young thief, in his memory, was a typical wandering doctor in the martial arts world, and no one robbed him. After all, no one knew who would get sick, so Xiaoyu, himself, had been wandering in the martial arts world for many years and had not encountered too much trouble, but this time I encountered 3, not 4 thieves, who actually robbed myself. I endured and wanted to save money and avoid disaster. Just as he agreed to give them some silver, Xiaoyu felt a gust of wind passing through her back. Just as she was about to dodge, her neck hurt and she knew nothing. Then at this moment, Xiaoyu came to this world and woke up due to the transportation of the gourd, which is now known as the gourd seal. But he found himself floating on the surface of the water. Although he didn't quite understand his situation, his survival instinct immediately made Xiaoyu use the swimming dog planing technique he learned in the small river ditch when he was a child. Thank you, Xiaoyu, for all the blessings she has had over the years, especially the large abdominal muscles on her belly, which managed to float on the water and barely save her life. Then at this moment, Xiaoyu suddenly saw 2 figures on the riverbank, ignoring the current situation. He quickly shouted for help, but because he was anxious, he shouted a few times. Xiaoyu choked on the water and couldn't lift himself in one breath, then he knew nothing. After Xiaoyu was saved by these 2 people, he digested his memories and woke up at the inn. Although he was puzzled about his situation, he still thanked his 2 life-saving benefactors, Duan Fei and Tu Xuehua, first. Although he was hungry, Xiaoyu persisted until the meal was ready. After all, he was clean and penniless now, so he probably had to rely on those 2 life-saving benefactors for food and accommodation. It was almost time for dinner, and Duan Fei and Tu Xuehua quickly went downstairs. Duan Fei was still quite clever. He took the initiative to knock on Xiaoyu's door and invited her downstairs to eat. Xiaoyu finally breathed a sigh of relief. Chapter 2. Learning Art. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Learning Art. Although the rice bucket was empty, Xiaoyu still suppressed her blush and cooked a few more bowls of rice because she was too hungry. Then we chatted a few more words. It was said that Tu Xuehua took Duan Fei to study at Changli sect. In Xiaoyu's impression, Changli sect is also today, second only to the 7 major sects in the martial arts world. At this moment, Xiaoyu's interest in martial arts in his memory greatly increased. He asked Duan Fei if he could take him to learn martial arts from the Changli sect together. Duan Fei readily agreed, but Tu Xuehua couldn't deny Xiaoyu's face and could only agree. These 2 people, based on Xiaoyu's life experience, feel that the woman likes each other more than the man. Although Tu Xuehua is a woman, her personality should be stronger and more independent than Duan Fei. And Duan Fei has a somewhat kind personality. Such a person may suffer some losses in society, but everyone is willing to make friends with him because he doesn't know how to trick you. Then Xiaoyu and the three of them walked together, heading towards the direction of Changli education. On the way, Xiaoyu was robbed and had no money on him. He had to rely on Duan Fei and Tu Xuehua to support them. Duan Fei was a good person and didn't say anything, so Tu Xuehua felt embarrassed to mention it. In more than a day, as we got to know each other, we arrived at Changli Church. Because Tu Xuehua grew up in Changli Church from a young age, he was very familiar with it. Soon, Tu Xuehua took Xiaoyu and the others to find Tu Xuehua's teaching master, Beidao Changli. Requesting apprenticeship, but at this moment, Master Tu Xuehua, Beidao Changli, was competing with his brother Dongdao Changli for the position of head. Okay, the timing is not very opportune. Xiaoyu and Duan Feizheng feel that there is little hope left. Suddenly, Tu Xuehua had a clever idea and came up with a proposal to have each of them take on an apprentice and compete in martial arts, in order to determine the position of leader. Becoming a leader is not only about having higher martial arts skills, but also about teaching the skills of the apprentice. After several rounds of fighting, the two were evenly matched. After thinking about it, I suddenly felt that this proposal was also good and agreed to it. Duan Fei has lower qualifications, but compared to Xiaoyu, his young martial arts foundation is also quite good. Both Beidao Changli and Dongdao Changli have the idea of making Duan Fei his disciple. But it's also not possible to divide like this. Finally, we chose to draw lots to select disciples, and the result of the draw was that Xiaoyu Bai, the master of Tu Xuehua, learned the one-finger divine skill taught by Beidao Changli, while Duan Fei learned the 7 mysterious slashes taught by Dongdao Changli. The competition was officially held 1 month later. Later, Beidao Changli brought Xiaoyu to a dense forest and asked her to explain her background, while also taking a look at what martial arts Xiaoyu had learned and what her martial arts foundation was. Xiaoyu told Beidao Changli about his own physical experience, and Beidao Changli was also surprised by Xiaoyu's complicated life experience. However, Beidao Changli is still satisfied with Xiaoyu's identity as a scholar and his experience at Shaolin Temple, especially with his status as a scholar and his advanced martial arts skills. Without a certain cultural foundation, you cannot learn well. Then, Beidao Changli explained to Xiaoyu about the rules of the Changli sect, and asked Xiaoyu to bow down and become a disciple. After listening to the rules of Changli sect, Xiaoyu immediately felt that Changli sect on Changli Island was truly a prestigious and upright sect. After agreeing in her heart, she immediately kowtowed and became a disciple. Beidao Changli was also an impatient person and immediately began teaching Xiaoyu the moves of one-finger divine skill. The moves in one-finger divine skill are simple, with only 3 moves. Direct attack on Yellow Dragon, Wild Horse splitting mane, and Golden Eagle picking at food. Using the index finger, the moves are simple, making them easy to learn. At first, Xiaoyu was a bit nervous, afraid that she wouldn't be able to learn well. After all, she had the attribute of being a scumbag, but strangely enough, Xiaoyu found that her memory was still quite good now. She only practiced these 3 exercises 4 or 5 times and almost remembered them. The next step is to learn the supporting internal skills of one-finger divine skill, which is much more troublesome than Shaolin's breathing technique. It actually involves many acupoints, even the 12 meridians and 8 extraordinary meridians. Xiaoyu has been a wandering doctor in the martial arts world for several years, and there is no need for Beidao Changli to teach meridians and acupoints again. In this regard, Beidao Changli can breathe a sigh of relief. He knows that teaching this is also very troublesome, as he learned it for a long time back then. At present, Beidao Changli began to teach Xiaoyu the key techniques and terminology of Xingongyin one-finger divine skill. Beidao used his internal skills to investigate the internal strength of Xiaoyu's dantian and expressed satisfaction with the Shaolin breathing technique he had accumulated in Xiaoyu's body. I can still be considered a third-rate expert, but I don't know how to use it, so I can passively strengthen my body and keep fit. Then, Beidao Changli began to use his internal strength to guide Xiaoyu's inner strength to follow the matching mental techniques of one-finger divine skill, guiding the qi of the elixir field to ascend along the governor meridian and return to the elixir field under the meridian. Following the path of practicing martial arts, a small Zhou Tian circuit was formed. After the small Zhou Tian gong completed 36 rounds and qi returned to the elixir field, Xiaoyu's first true practice of practicing martial arts was completed. After opening her eyes, Xiaoyu took a mouthful of internal qi and used a finger magic skill. She suddenly felt an invisible force spreading along her fingers. Then Xiaoyu imitated the northern Changli and pointed towards a tree trunk, and a small hole came out. Xiaoyu was shocked and looked at her fingers. Is this something that humans can do? It's much more useful than an electric drill. This martial arts thing is so amazing. What is the principle of bioelectricity? Suddenly, Xiaoyu regained his new internal strength and used the matching leg techniques in conjunction with one-finger divine skill. After kicking a few times on two big trees, he climbed up, which was much stronger than those parkour sports and more beautiful. However, looking at the caring for the intellectually disabled look in Beidao Changli's eyes, Xiaoyu decided to go down the tree and continue practicing with Beidao Changli. Then Xiaoyu suppressed the magical feeling in her heart and began practicing the techniques with Beidao Changli. The techniques were actually practiced and applied in different situations. Learn these tricks, and you will know how to deal with any situation you encounter in the future. It feels like homework assigned by the teacher after class, but at this point, the homework is 1.on.1 tutored by the teacher. However, not long after, Xiaoyu's body technique speed slowed down, and the use of finger techniques became slower. It felt like he couldn't extract energy from the elixir field, as if the running machine had run out of power. Looking at Beidao Changli, who was still in a mental state, he felt a sense of belonging to an old player. Beidao Changli also noticed Xiaoyu's state and stopped using his moves, allowing Xiaoyu to rest for a while and resume practicing meditation to restore his internal power and cultivation. However, after completing the meditation and getting hungry, Beidao Changli took Xiaoyu to eat first. While eating, he talked to Xiaoyu about the martial arts world and his martial arts realm. In the martial arts world, there are generally two schools of thought. External and internal. External skill. Simple and easy to cultivate, with low requirements for cultivators. It is the most widely circulated cultivation technique in the martial arts world. At the end of cultivation, from the outside to the inside, although it can also reach the highest level, it is difficult to achieve the top level through different paths such as zhaozuiyuan.com and internal skill. Internal skill. From the inside out, cultivation is somewhat difficult and carries certain risks. It requires practitioners to have a certain foundation in martial arts and culture, which is not widely circulated in the martial arts world. However, most of the experts walking in the martial arts world are internal experts. Especially for some prestigious martial arts forces in the martial arts world, they are mostly internal skill masters, and compared to external skills, they are relatively easy to reach the highest level. Martial arts cultivation and level are generally divided into non-mainstream, third-rate, second-rate, first-class, as well as top-notch masters, peerless masters, and so on. Beidao Changli and Dongdao Changli are considered top-notch experts in the top tier, and there is a chance to enter the peerless expert category. As for Xiaoyu, today he has passed through the non-mainstream realm and entered the third mainstream realm. The one-finger divine skill he practiced is considered a first-class skill, because it is a first-class skill. If he persists in practicing, Xiaoyu will have the opportunity to enter the first-class realm in his lifetime. In the following month, Beidao Changli devoted all his teachings to Xiaoyu's one-finger divine skill and never hid anything, while Dongdao Changli also taught Duan Fei's 7 mysterious slashes, and did not hide anything. After a month of eating rice, meat, and various tonics, Xiaoyu's abdominal muscles have also become smaller. However, Xiaoyu feels that if she cannot win the victory for Beidao Changli, eating it will probably make her vomit completely, and she is also a bit afraid. On the last day, Xiaoyu and Beidao Changli exerted their finger strength again. Xiaoyu took a big step back and used Beidao Changli's method of discouraging energy, transmitting the injured force to the gourd seal in the palm of his right hand. Then Xiaoyu exerted this force again before stopping his retreat. This was also a small trick that Xiaoyu discovered to release energy. The effect was much better than that of Beidao. With this, Xiaoyu wouldn't worry about being injured by the shockwave. Chapter 3. Superman. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Superman. Beidao nodded and looked at Xiaoyu, who could take a finger from him, with a satisfied expression. Xiaoyu's performance this month has been much more energetic than he had imagined. In the heart of Beidao Changli, Xiaoyu practiced hard and did not slack off. Although sometimes he was foolish and would ask silly questions and do foolish things, overall he was still satisfied. Unfortunately, he is a bit older, in his 30s, and may not be able to reach the highest level of martial arts in this life. However, recently Xiaoyu has been able to take on many of his own moves, and his internal skill foundation is solid. There is great hope of winning this competition. If Xiaoyu wins, I can also officially accept Xiaoyu as my personal disciple, which can be considered worthy of my master's teachings and promote the development of Changli sect. Later, Beidao Changli asked Xiaoyu to meditate and recuperate on his own, and he also went to Yungong for recuperation. At this moment, Xiaoyu heard Beidao Changli's intention to rest and quickly practiced meditation to restore his internal skills. Of course, at this moment, Xiaoyu's heart was focused on the gourd mark on his right hand. Since Xiaoyu discovered that he could remove his strength from this gourd imprint, he has been trying to make the internal force flow through this area as much as possible during his practice. The effect is very good. Every time my internal strength passes through here, I can feel a bit stronger. The battery in my body not only stores more energy, but also has a higher upper limit. To be honest, this month I feel like Xiaoyu has gone from being an ordinary unemployed worker to becoming a superhero. She can fly back and forth, and her fingers can make holes in wood. If she were to make a hole in the human body, it would definitely be one hole at a time. Moreover, Xiaoyu has also witnessed the North Island Changli Yunqi's one-finger divine skill, which shattered the stone in one fell swoop. If it were a human, it would also shatter. How to put it, practicing martial arts feels so fun. Xiaoyu felt like she had entered a game where Beidao Changli was the NPC who taught her how to pass the levels. That's so interesting. The next day, Xiaoyu arrived at the agreed place. Dongdao Changli, Duan Fei, and Tu Xuehua had already arrived first, while Beidao Changli had complained about his disciple Tu Xuehua, who had forgotten about his master after having a husband. Tu Xuehua was quite awkward. Tu Xuehua quickly said that she hadn't gotten married yet. Xiaoyu was also a bit stunned when she said this. On the way here, you lived together more than once. Xiaoyu had also experienced the art of men and women fighting, but those women were not as beautiful as Tu Xuehua. Okay, that's not important. Once ready, according to the agreement, Xiaoyu Xian and Tu Xuehua will try 30 moves to give it a try. Xiaoyu has never had a fight with a woman in her 2 lifetimes, which is also novel. After Beidao said it, Xiaoyu and Tu Xuehua started fighting. They knew with just one hand that Xiaoyu couldn't beat her. She had higher internal strength than Xiaoyu, and her moves were more exquisite than Xiaoyu. She didn't know what kind of martial arts to use, and her hands were like flowers, empty and solid. With one finger of divine skill, there were not many changes in the moves, and Xiaoyu could only reluctantly parry. Fortunately, when fighting against Master Beidao Changli, he knew he would encounter many similar situations and had a plan to deal with them. 30 moves, not long after, quickly ended. Xiaoyu didn't care about anything else, quickly used his energy to regulate his breathing and restore his internal strength. Soon, Duan Fei and Tu Xuehua finished their moves. Compared to Xiaoyu, after all, his treatment was different, and Duan Fei had a much smoother time. After both sides rested for a while, Xiaoyu and Duan Fei began to fight back. To be honest, Xiaoyu was also working hard, but Duan Fei's 7 mysterious slash moves were more complex than those of a finger's divine skill. Moreover, Duan Fei's actual combat experience and internal strength were indeed much higher than Xiaoyu's. Xiaoyu ultimately lost. The result, of course, is that Dongdao Changli has become the leader. Although Beidao Changli is very angry, he hopes to lose the bet and can only rely on Dongdao Changli as the leader. Xiaoyu could only be afraid that Northern Changli would take out what he had eaten and try to hide himself as much as possible. However, fortunately, Beidao Changli is not a narrow-minded person. It seems that Xiaoyu still has some qualifications, and he has officially taken Xiaoyu as his disciple to teach him martial arts. 3 days later, Changli sect held a grand ceremony to inherit the position of leader. Dongdao Changli became the leader of Changli sect, and Duan Fei was also very happy as a disciple of the leader. However, Beidao Changli was a bit unhappy. And then these days lasted for half a year, and Xiaoyu gradually became accustomed to the ancient way of life. He rested at sunset and worked at sunrise, simple, and most importantly, the food here was absolutely free of additives. That day, after finishing his practice in the morning, Xiaoyu had breakfast and returned to the book pavilion to start copying books. That's right, copying books. In ancient times, unlike modern times, there were still a few people who could read. As a scholar named Xiaoyu, although she was not used to being unfamiliar for a few days at first, she later adapted to her beautiful calligraphy skills. After the competition, Beidao Changli used the excuse that Xiaoyu had offended him and allowed Xiaoyu to start copying books in the shuj. Of course, not all books were copied, but all books in the shuj were also open to Xiaoyu. This allowed Xiaoyu to learn a lot of basic martial arts knowledge and broaden his horizons, so people still need to have culture. After about half a month, Beidao Changli asked Xiaoyu and Duan Fei to compete in martial arts again. Because I have read a lot of books in the book pavilion, it does seem like a scholar knows the world without going out, and Xiaoyu's martial arts have made rapid progress. Although Xiaoyu's internal skills were not as advanced as Duan Fei's, and his divine skills did not change as much as 7 xian slashes, he gradually caught up with Duan Fei's movements during the martial arts competition. Duan Fei was also surprised. Dongdao Changli understood what was going on. It was a matter of martial arts knowledge, and he arranged for Duan Fei to go to the book pavilion to copy books. Duan Fei had a desire to practice medicine and open a medical clinic, and could also write beautiful small characters. It would be even better to have someone accompany Xiaoyu in copying books, and there would be someone to talk and chat about the mountains. Life is not boring. Xiaoyu was surprised to find that Duan Fei had not come after copying another log of old events in the martial arts world. Since Tu Xuehua returned to Yanxia Mountain Villa a month ago, Duan Fei has also become bored. Apart from practicing martial arts, he has also become active in copying books. What's going on today? Xiaoyu was thinking about it when he heard someone shouting outside and breaking into the island. Suddenly, there were some panicked voices coming and going. Xiaoyu didn't know why, so he quickly went downstairs and followed the crowd, starting to walk towards the location of the incident. Zhaozuiyuan.com. As soon as I arrived, I saw several people lying on the ground, not sure if they were alive or dead. One of them was Duan Fei, and 2 experts, Dongdao leader and Beidao Changli, were besieging another person. This person's skills were similar to those of Dongdao leader and Beidao Changli. Watching their competition, this is truly a master, surrounded by an invisible aura. Some disciples with weak martial arts are not allowed to take many steps back, including Xiaoyu. Although Xiaoyu cultivates first-class techniques, after all, the cultivation time is not long. Of course, the main reason is that Xiaoyu feels that this is not the time when he can participate. Xiaoyu is still quite afraid of death. He feels like he needs to pass, and he can't resist even a single move. It's better to retreat further and be safe. After nearly 300 moves, 3 martial arts masters finally used needles as weapons. Some of their skills were not able to continue. The East Island leader was hard hit by the opponent, and North Changli found an opportunity to stab the attacking master who used needles to death with one finger. At this moment, Xiaoyu still thought to himself that if this shot were to be made into a movie, he wouldn't know how much film would be saved. The filming was too exciting, and he didn't know he didn't have such a chance. It immediately made Xiaoyu yearn for this world with martial arts even more. Xiaoyu and the others were about to celebrate when suddenly an old man dressed as a beggar jumped out from a distance. He rushed directly to Duan Fei, checked him, and then carried him away. Everyone was stunned for a moment. At this moment, a disciple was preparing to chase after him. The East Island leader said directly, "Don't worry, it's the ancient sword soul of the fire cloud evil god. Don't chase after me, disciples." Then many disciples were frightened into a mess, and some disciples actually ran away immediately, like ancient sword souls, what terrifying ghosts and monsters. These days, Xiaoyu has been copying a lot of books. He knows some stories about the legendary ancient sword soul in the martial arts world, but he always feels that the story of the ancient sword soul is just a deceitful legend. Xiaoyu didn't expect this person to actually exist. Chapter 4. Fire Cloud Evil God. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Fire Cloud Evil God. The ancient sword soul of the Fire Cloud Evil God became famous 20 years ago. I don't know where to learn it, but 2 martial arts masterpieces that disappeared 300 years ago are the Tathagata Divine Palm and the Heavenly Residual Divine Skill, one of which is the Tathagata Divine Palm. Later on, it seemed that because his wife's son Jinling was killed, he used his famous martial arts skill, Tathagata Divine Palm, to massacre people in the martial arts world, which attracted the besiegement of his self-proclaimed righteous sect. However, the righteous sect underestimated the martial arts skill of Tathagata Divine Palm. Encircling the fire cloud evil god Gu Jianhun, they suffered significant losses. Later, the 7 sect leaders disappeared together with Gu Jianhun, and this bloody period finally came to an end. Xiaoyu still thought it was a strange anecdote from the martial arts world, but she didn't expect it to happen. Her interest suddenly increased, and she had an intuition that there should be some connection between Duan Fei and the ancient sword soul of the fire cloud evil god. It should be okay. Sure enough, not long after, Master Changli of Beidao received a transmission from Tu Shuihua, with the words and lines saying that Duan Fei was fine. Soon, Duan Fei will return to Changli's teachings. Regardless of whether it was true or false, Xiaoyu believed it. After 2 days, Beidao Changli called Xiaoyu to his room and showed him some silver needles, as well as a scroll of cloth recording the soul summoning needle technique. It was said that Xiaoyu had worked as a wandering doctor in the martial arts world, and this technique should also have been created by a medical expert. There are many ways of acupuncture and moxibustion to save people, which can let Xiaoyu study more. After Xiaoyu thanked him, he took down the roll cloth and silver needle. In the memory of the original owner Xiaoyu, he really knows some common methods of acupuncture and moxibustion. It is a precious inheritance to know the method of acupuncture and moxibustion acupuncture, and I am very happy now. Soon after returning to his residence, he began to study these acupuncture and moxibustion techniques. In order to make several 1-to-1 acupoint wooden figures out of wood, he began to practice. Half a year later, Xiaoyu, who had finished a day's homework, received a call from the head of Dongli to attend the wedding of Duan Fei and Tu Shuihua. This is a good thing, of course Xiaoyu agreed to participate. Not only did Duan Fei and Tu Shuihua save Xiaoyu's life, but now after a year of cultivation, Xiaoyu's martial arts have entered a second-rate realm and he also wants to take a walk in the martial arts world. In fact, the facade responsibility of most sects is in the second-tier realm. Unless there is a special opportunity, reaching the first-tier realm usually requires 20 to 30 years of cultivation. At this point in time, people were already in their 40s or 50s, and coupled with the fact that ancient people got married early, some people were uncertain about their children getting married, so they no longer had the passion to go out and explore like they did when they were young. Besides, there is not much difference in moves between second-rate and first-class level masters. It's just a matter of deep internal strength. If the moves are exquisite and the techniques are mysterious, it's common for second-rate masters to defeat first-class masters. In fact, among many sects, talented disciples in their 20s who cultivate to a second-rate level will be sent out by the sect to travel. On the one hand, they will increase their martial arts knowledge, and on the other hand, they will uphold chivalry and righteousness to promote the sect's reputation. Otherwise, how did the 7 major righteous sects come about? They were all accumulated step by step by their disciples who roamed the rivers and lakes and acted chivalrous and righteous. The next day, after considering for a long time, Xiaoyu still dressed up as a wandering doctor in the martial arts world. Firstly, it was more convenient to dress up as a wandering doctor, as most people would not attack them. Secondly, she could hide herself and see if she could try playing the role of a pig and eating a tiger, which should be very fun. After calculating the route, Xiaoyu set off towards the Yanxia villa. Unfortunately, no one gave Xiaoyu the opportunity to act righteous on the way, only a few small and affluent families gave him the opportunity to practice medicine. Since learning soul summoning needle, Xiaoyu's conscious medical cultivation has greatly increased. To be honest, Xiaoyu never expected that ancient people could study the human body so thoroughly. Originally, Xiaoyu had always thought that Western medicine were very powerful, and traditional Chinese medicine was just some mysterious tree bark and rotten grass roots. Since Xiaoyu learned the soul gouging needle and searched through many traditional Chinese medicine materials in the library, coupled with his years of medical experience, Xiaoyu can now be considered an expert in medical ethics. For the poor people, Xiaoyu only needs to use a hollow silver needle to deliver the prepared medicine powder to the patient's lesion after passing the pulse. To be honest, Xiaoyu used to be at the bottom of society and particularly liked the way patients expressed their gratitude after being cured. It felt so respected, but unfortunately, the poor did not have money. Xiaoyu looked at their family background and felt embarrassed to ask for money. Later on, Xiaoyu had no choice but to transform into a gentleman on the beam and find a notorious tycoon to solve the problem. After all, he was also able to help the needy. Before the tycoon could react, Xiaoyu left. As a token of gratitude, Xiaoyu will not mention the affair between the wealthy and beautiful concubine and the servants in her mansion. Of course, this is also based on the premise that the beautiful concubine agrees to compete with Xiaoyu in combat skills. Xiaoyu and a wealthy and beautiful concubine studied their fighting skills, but in the end, Xiaoyu was defeated, so he didn't leave a name for doing good deeds. In fact, Xiaoyu was mainly afraid that he and his wealthy and beautiful concubines would study fighting skills, which would damage the reputation of the Changli sect. After all, the Changli sect is very grateful to him now. But in modern society, Xiaoyu, as an ordinary person at the bottom who is in a state of survival, although reality does not allow it, he also has his own desires and needs. However, after all, I haven't studied it for many years. Although I don't know martial arts, this little concubine has a unique talent in fighting skills. Xiaoyu is very satisfied with this, although it's a bit disappointing. So after Xiaoyu quickly left this place without much delay, he calculated his time and went to the nearby town of Yanxia Mountain Villa to find an inn to stay. The next day, Xiaoyu inquired with the shop assistant about a place called a lake and set off. After camping in a dilapidated temple for another night, Xiaoyu searched for the book garden www.zhaozhuyuan.com and found the lake the next day. Xiaoyu stood on a mound and looked down. From a distance, he saw figures swaying near the lake. He thought it might be there, but I was a bit puzzled. Why didn't we get married at the first villa in the world, Yanxia Mountain Villa? Is it because Duan Fei is afraid of losing face and wants to start his own business? I remember Duan Fei told me about his background. He was a descendant of a declining aristocratic family in the martial arts world. He grew up under the tutelage of Lu Zhongyuan, a member of the Long Dragon Escort Agency, and grew up with Lu Mingwan, the daughter of Lu Zhongyuan. Duan Fei's original wish was to marry Lu Mingwan and open a medical clinic, living a simple life. Unfortunately, later on, the Long Dragon Escort Agency received an escort order that was related to the fire cloud evil god Gu Jianhun from that time. Suddenly, it attracted people from the martial arts world to snatch the darts. Later, Lu Zhongyuan was defeated by the 7 evil men who came to snatch the darts, and could only entrust the darts to Duan Fei. Unfortunately, after enduring countless hardships, Duan Fei finally delivered the dart to the Yanxia Mountain Villa and found that the bag was empty. During this time, Fei was immediately questioned by martial arts practitioners. As a result, Lu Zhongyuan expelled Duan Fei from the sect, and the junior sister admitted to treating him as her brother. That period of time can be said to be the lowest point in Duan Fei's life. Fortunately, with Tu Xuehua's unwavering companionship, Duan Fei was able to overcome it. Then it was Duan Fei who followed Tu Xuehua's advice and came to Chanli to teach art together. Although Duan Fei may have some concealment, what he said should not be a big problem. As for how Tu Xuehua and the others got together, Duan Fei is not sure. Who can explain the matter of men and women clearly? Although there are still many doubts, thinking about it doesn't matter what happened to Xiaoyu. It's all Duan Fei's own life. If Duan Fei and Tu Xuehua can save him from the water, they should repay the kindness of saving his life. Thinking about it so much is useless. Setting off. Chapter 5. Ancient Sword Soul. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Ancient Sword Soul. Xiaoyu is also a man who knows lightness skills now. Although the supporting lightness skills of one finger divine skill can only be considered second-rate, they are also very good. They are no less fast than Xiaoyu's own Route 11 and not inferior to those who ride bicycles. So Xiaoyu often marvels at the magic of martial arts, which is truly a very magical technique for developing the human body's superpowers. Xiaoyu's lightness skills didn't last long. Although he lost some of his internal strength, Xiaoyu felt it was still worth it because he happened to see Duan Fei using the 7 mysterious slash to fish in the lake. It was such a magical skill that the 7 mysterious slash could still be used like this. Xiaoyu was also a bit surprised. Although he hadn't seen her for half a year, Duan Fei quickly recognized Xiaoyu dressed as a doctor, and both sides quickly became familiar. Xiaoyu was surprised by Duan Fei's fishing skills and quickly sought his advice. Xiaoyu also tried using one finger of divine skill. It can be possible, but the effect is not as good as Duan Fei's. Duan Fei hits one piece at a time, and Xiaoyu can only hit a few large ones at a time, but it's quite fun. After fighting a lot, Duan Fei packed several willow baskets and walked with Xiaoyu towards the other side of the lake. Not far away, there happened to be a person and a carriage waiting. At this moment, Xiaoyu helped Duan Fei load all the fish he caught onto the carriage. The carriage driver paid Duan Fei some silver money and then drove away. Of course, Duan Fei and Xiaoyu took a few big fish with them. I followed Duan Fei to several nice stone cabins and saw a woman who was similar to Tu Xuehua, but younger and more beautiful, directing several craftsmen to build the house. Currently, Duan Fei introduced to Xiaoyu that this is her sister-in-law, Tu Xuejuan, the second daughter of Tu Jin and Sun Bian from Yanxia Mountain Villa. Xiaoyu already knows that his eldest daughter is now his wife Tu Xuehua. In the afternoon, it was Xiaoyu's turn to do it. Xiaoyu used to work in the kitchen for a while, with several large fish weighing more than 10 pounds, which made Xiaoyu do several tricks, especially when she used the scene of Duan Fei's 7 mysteries slaying fishing today. Tu Yuhua, who had been eating fish for a while, praised Xiaoyu for a while and made Duan Fei, who had been cooking, feel embarrassed by the fish soup that was broken with a finger of divine skill. Yes, Tu Shuihua is a young lady. During her elopement with Duan Fei, she lived in seclusion at a certain lake. Duan Fei cooked the food because she didn't have much silver on her body and could only make a living by fishing. I did eat a lot of fish, but Duan Fei's cooking skills can only be said to not starve to death, but she is still better than Miss Tu Shuihua who has never worked in the kitchen. As for their elopement, it was the big mouth of Miss Tu Shuichuan who told Xiaoyu after dinner when she was walking and eating. Tu Shuichuan's words answered many questions from Xiaoyu. While escorting, Duan Fei actually met the ancient sword soul of the fire cloud evil god, who had been missing for more than 20 years. It seems that in order to save Miss Tu Shuihua, he even took the fire cloud evil god Gu Jian soul as his father. Later, when Duan Fei sent the dark box to Yanxia Mountain Villa, Gu Jian's soul also came. After a major battle with the leaders of the 7 major sects, both sides were seriously injured. Lu Zhongyuan's escort leader requested his disciple Duan Fei to kill him. The fire cloud evil god, Gu Jian's soul, not only did Duan Fei disobey the order but also let Gu Jian's soul go. So later on, there was the incident of Duan Fei being expelled from his school and going to Changli to teach art with Tu Shuihua. However, later on, Duan Fei was taken away by the ancient sword soul during Changli's teaching. As for how Duan Fei came out, it is unclear how he proposed marriage to Yanxia Mountain Villa. Just knowing that after Duan Fei proposed marriage, Yanxia Mountain Villa not only did not agree, but also arranged for Tu Shuihua and the Nangong aristocratic family Nangong Shui to marry. Then Tu Shuihua was also snatched by Ouyang Hao, the grandson of Feng Dao, the head of the 3-Ju palace. However, although Ouyang Hao liked Tu Shuihua, he was a gentleman. After discovering that Duan Fei and Tu Shuihua had an affair, he actually wished them good luck. By the way, after learning about Tu Shuihua's elopement, Ouyang Hao sponsored the stone house he built now. Ouyang Hao, you are really an interesting person, Xiaoyu thought to himself. After working as a chef for a few days, I was cooking something to eat when I suddenly saw a person wearing half-new clothes in the kitchen, stealing dishes made by Xiaoyu. Xiaoyuzhen was about to say something, but when he saw his attire, something suddenly came to his mind. Then Xiaoyudao said, "Are you here to attend your son's wedding, senior?" The person who was eating looked up at Xiaoyu and said, "I know you. You are my son's classmate and the food you make is quite good. What else is delicious? Hurry up and serve it. By the way, do you have any wine?" Due to speculation, Xiaoyu dared not neglect and quickly prepared some delicious food and a jar of wine. In the following days, the fire cloud evil god Gu Jianhun often rushed over to eat before the meal and didn't show up. Xiaoyu and he had a tacit understanding and didn't say anything, always preparing something delicious. Until the day of getting married, the wedding was very simple. Only Xiaoyu, Ouyang Hao, Duan Fei's junior sister Lu Mingwan, and Tu Shuichuan attended the wedding. When preparing to worship the empty hall, Xiaoyu, as the witness, made a secret signal as agreed in advance. Suddenly, the soul of the ancient sword appeared on the main seat, and everyone was particularly surprised. Especially when Ouyang Hao learned that the opponent was the fire cloud evil god Gu Jian's soul, he immediately took action, and Gu Jian's soul's 10,000 character handprint knocked Ouyang Hao away. Xiaoyu saw the ancient sword soul strike for the first time, lifting it lightly as if it were a gentle palm thrust, and Ouyang Hao flew out under the swastika seal. Just as I was about to say something, a person from a distance ran towards here, seemingly a servant of Yanxia Mountain Villa. They went to the book garden www.zhaoshuyuan.com. This servant came to the wife of the villa owner, Sun Biyun, who was poisoned. At this moment, everyone looked at Gu Jianhun, who laughed heartily and said, "I disdain using such despicable methods to poison Sun Biyun. If you want to go, it seems that this marriage won't be successful this time." Then, Gu Jianhun flashed away, and Duan Fei rushed out and called out, "Dad," a few times before returning. Then everyone began to rush towards Yanxia Mountain Villa. Xiaoyu stayed behind for the reason of packing up, but in fact, based on modern people's understanding, Xiaoyu felt that Sun Biyun was pretending to be sick and deceiving his daughter to go home. Of course, he also has his own purpose. Sure enough, not long after, the fire cloud evil god Gu Jian Soul ran back and asked Xiaoyu to report the situation to him. As a reward, he promised to reward Xiaoyu in the future. Feeling touched by the simplicity of the ancients, even though the other party was a detestable demon in the martial arts world, after spending so many days together, Xiaoyu also realized that the other party was a pitiful person, and that they were just a person with exceptionally strong martial arts skills and an extreme personality. He is not an unwarranted killer. He studied the life experience of Gu Jianhun in the book Pavilion. He was originally a wandering wanderer with a carefree personality, but accidentally obtained the lost masterpiece, Buddha's palm. Then comes the process of Yang Ming in the martial arts world. You are already Yang Ming, but you are stepping on someone else to rise to power. Some people are secretly jealous, unable to fight you or even those around you. Later, someone secretly killed his wife. As for who killed her, no one knows. In order to uncover the truth, the fire cloud evil god Gu Jianhun killed many people. Later on, he simply killed everything he felt he had offended and retaliated against the entire martial arts world. Later, it caused public outrage in the martial arts world, and the 7 major sects were burdened by fame and issued a siege order. However, later on, the leaders of the 7 major sects and the ancient sword soul disappeared together, which was considered the end. Chapter 6. Detoxification. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Detoxification. Suppressing her emotions, Xiaoyu tidied up and saw that there was still so much delicious food left. In ancient times, there was no refrigerator, which caused some delay. The next day, Xiaoyu set off to Yanxia Mountain Villa. Seeing the densely populated and prosperous people, he still quite liked it in his heart, indicating that the first villa in the world is indeed well known. When we arrived at Zhuangzi, we should have received orders. Soon, we saw Miss Tu Air with red and swollen eyes, and our hearts were moved. Could it be that something had really happened? Then Tu Shuozhuan saw Xiaoyu's appearance as a doctor and suddenly wanted to be something. She asked Xiaoyu if she could detoxify him, and Xiaoyu quickly nodded and said she knew. At this moment, Miss Tu Air's face lit up and she quickly took me to see her mother. Xiaoyu and his companions were also present during the time slot. However, when she asked Xiaoyu to detoxify, Duan Fei also showed a puzzled expression. However, I also agreed to let Xiaoyu see it. Although many self-proclaimed divine doctors have already seen it, they are still familiar with common diseases, and have much less knowledge of poison. When Xiaoyu saw the butcher, she also showed a surprised expression. Although Lady Tu was half old, she was indeed very beautiful. No wonder she gave birth to such beautiful 2 daughters. However, it may be due to poisoning, with a strange complexion, blackened face, tightly closed teeth, and a vegetative appearance. I suddenly understood the reasons why those divine doctors were unable to cure them, and there was a solution. How to take medicine. In ancient times, male and female defense was still very serious, and the more divine doctors were, the more important their reputation was. Xiaoyu couldn't tell her pulse even when she sounded it, nor did she look good at her mouth. Now that Sun Biyun's teeth are tightly closed, it's impossible to see. Looking at her eyes, it's true that she's poisoned. Thinking about making a judgment, it should be a mixed toxin extracted from flowers and plants. Although Xiaoyu's medical advice is good, it is not as clever as imagined. Thinking of this, Xiaoyu went out and saw everyone's hopeful eyes. Suddenly, Xiaoyu felt that being a doctor was indeed good. Then Xiaoyu shared his judgment about the butcher, and other divine doctors also made judgments about such a diagnosis, but the question was how to detoxify it. Duan Fei told Xiaoyu directly that there was a divine doctor who pointed it out, possibly the legendary Thousand-Day Smile. Xiaoyu was even more surprised when she heard Thousand-Day Smile. This poison should have been known by the original owner's father, who was an official in the royal palace. It was a secret medicine in the palace, specially punishing the concubine who had an affair with outsiders in the palace. She died in pain after taking this poison. It was said that she would have to endure pain for 3 years before dying. In fact, whether she didn't eat or drink it or not, there were not many heavenly and human beings. However, this poison will continue to torment the patient until death. It's a ruthless medicine. However, looking at everyone's expectant eyes, Xiaoyu still gave her own detoxification formula. This formula is very universal, but the detoxification effect should be very good. Firstly, collect the grapes, extract the juice, and put it in a cowhide bag for later use. Then, Lady 2 was hung upside down. Although embarrassed, she didn't care about saving people. Finally, the processed bamboo tube was inserted into the vein of her foot, and glucose from the cowhide bag was injected. Occasionally, blood flowed out of a wound with her fingers. This process lasted for 7 days, and due to female issues, it was mainly taught to her 2 daughters. Although shameful and painful, it did have an effect. After 7 days, she should not feel as much pain anymore. The main toxins in her body have almost flowed out, and there are some remnants that she cannot handle. Then, because she couldn't eat, Xiaoyu thought of what she saw on TV and used a large steamer to steam the antidote mist into her body. Although it cost a lot, 3 days later, her teeth opened and she could eat liquid food to take the medicine. Then for another half-month, she finally rescued herself. Although she had lost all her martial arts skills, she did indeed save the person and was able to move around. Although the treatment was awkward, it was indeed saved. Such a treatment method was the true martial arts miracle doctor who came halfway, and Ouyang Hao's father Feng also greatly admired it. The later choice of detoxifying herbs was that Xiaoyu and Feng were indeed divine doctors, and Xiaoyu had learned a lot from him. As a medical expert, it was necessary to exchange medical skills. However, I always feel that people like Feng cannot have deep friendships, which is strange. Dealing with him, I feel that Feng is not as good as the fire cloud evil god ancient sword soul. However, Feng's medical skills are indeed superb. Recently, Xiaoyu has flipped through the medical books of the world's top village. However, Feng has read all these medical skills in earlier years and can also identify many mistakes. In terms of medical skills, he is indeed skilled. These days, Duan Fei often appears in the first village of the world. Due to Xiaoyu's relationship, Duan Fei's uncle identity has been officially confirmed. In order to show himself, Duan Fei has been looking for the murderer who poisoned him. On that day, he discovered an ugly mother-in-law who was doing odd jobs, with excellent martial arts skills, even higher than him, a master who was about to reach a first-class level. This is abnormal. As expected, the culprit was her, and I didn't expect that she was Sun Biyun's junior sister Lu Piapiao. The once famous beauty in the martial arts world has now turned into an ugly mother-in-law. But during the tracking, unfortunately Miss Tu Air was not careful and her face was poisoned by Lu Piapiao's poisonous spider, so everyone had to give up tracking. Later, after the joint treatment of Xiaoyu and Feng, it was discovered that it was actually the spider, Ruthless Mother, in the 10,000 Poisons forest, actually mainly discovered by Feng. Xiaoyu pretended to know. There are many ways to treat it, but unfortunately, leaving a scar is necessary. For a beautiful woman who has not married, leaving a scar is almost the end of her life. I can only go to the Wanda forest to find the nemesis of the Ruthless Mother, the Jade Toad. Duan Fei, in order to show off in front of his sister-in-law, took Xiaoyu, who was somewhat helpless, to the Wanda forest. Zhaozuiyuan.com. When Xiaoyu went to look for a needle in a haystack, the 10,000 poison forest was so big that he hadn't found any trace of the Jade Toad in 3 months. At this point, Xiaoyu realized that if he was poisoned, he could still use his right hand to shoot out the toxin, and 10,000 poisons wouldn't invade. As for Duan Fei, Xiaoyu's detoxification ability has greatly increased during this period. Duan Fei is a good experimental subject, and after being poisoned and detoxified, his skill has greatly increased, and he has actually entered a first-class realm. Who can argue with him? After 3 months without any harvest, looking at the two of them who have been in a wild state for 3 months, they decided to go rest and recuperate first. At least their messy beards need to be repaired. As for the hair, Duan Fei has already learned from Xiaoyu to keep it short. At least washing hair is convenient. After arriving in the town, take a good sleep first, then find a bathhouse to clean up thoroughly, and feel that the two of them who have come to life will inquire about the news of the martial arts world. Unexpectedly, after 3 months of no major changes in the martial arts world, the fire cloud evil god Gu Jian soul has returned to the martial arts world and established the Hell Gate to avenge those who have been wronged in the martial arts world. This time, the 7 major sects have no iron heads, but instead they are ignored. Now the fire cloud evil god's ancient sword soul has been imprisoned, and the world's first village leader Tu Jin and the 3 extremities gate Feng Dao have gone to the Hell Gate. The 3 extremities gate has been changed to the 7 extremities gate by Feng Dao's illegitimate son. Xiaoyu and Duan Fei exchanged a glance and quickly decided to go to the Hell Gate. More than a day later, I heard about Lu Piapiao, the Hell Gate and Soul Summoning Messenger, capturing certain sects and defeating Lu Gang, the Lushan 8 strongholds, with the soul of the fire cloud evil god ancient sword. Duan Fei and Xia finally arrived at the main altar of the Hell Gate. Due to their anxiety and lack of preparation, they quickly arrived at the prison cell of the Hell Gate. Not long after sneaking in, they saw the imprisoned second miss of the Tu family, Tu Xuechuan. It was precisely for her that Xiaoyu and Duan Fei stayed in the 10,000 poison forest for 3 months. Chapter 7. Dungeons. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Dungeons. Duan Fei first had a conversation with Miss Tuer, and indeed, not long after Duan Fei and Xiaoyu left, the fire cloud evil god Gu Jian's soul appeared and captured them all. Her sister Tu Xuehua was also taken away, and she didn't know where she was. As she was speaking, she suddenly felt something was wrong. The two of them turned around and saw Duan Fei and the fire cloud evil god, the ancient sword soul, coming from behind. At this time, the ancient sword soul was not wearing that tattered clothes, but also a domineering and powerful outfit, looking old and handsome, and of course, had a lot of deterrent power. Then came Duan Fei's sage-like words, urging the fire cloud evil god, Gu Jian soul, to abandon evil and become good. Xiaoyu felt that the situation he was saying was not quite right, but he dared not interrupt at this moment, otherwise Xiaoyu felt that he might be hanging here. Sure enough, after their heated words, the fire cloud evil god became even more extreme, appearing to seek justice for the world. But during this period, Fei actually took the lead in taking action, and Xiaoyu was also extremely surprised. Who gave Duan Fei the courage? Liang Jingru. Sure enough, although the ancient sword soul was surprised by Duan Fei's entry into the first-class realm, it was only a moment of surprise, and then, the 10,000 character palm seal masterpiece. Xiaoyu could only use the one-finger divine skill technique to barely protect herself, but within a few rounds, Xiaoyu seemed to be thrown into a basement and knew nothing. When Xiaoyu woke up, it was unknown when he could only see through the light emanating from the small window far above his head that it was a sealed basement surrounded by blue stone walls. Xiaoyu explored around, empty and without any gaps, feeling that they were all physical, right? At this moment, Xiaoyu suddenly felt a wall shaking. Xiaoyu quickly walked to the shaking wall, and in her heart, it was indeed true. At this moment, Xiaoyu groped on the wall and found the position with the highest vibration in the corner. Then, he crossed his legs and meditated. After adjusting his breath, he found his maximum strength state and used the first move of one-finger divine skill to hit the yellow dragon straight on the wall, creating a fist-sized hole that was about 1 meter long. It was indeed on the opposite side, and the beam of light could be seen from the small holes exposed on both sides. Xiaoyu shouted a few times, and there was indeed a voice coming from the opposite side, saying that he was Duan Fei. Xiaoyu's face lit up with joy, saying that she was Xiaoyu. After confirming that there was nothing wrong with both sides, they quickly started chatting. After Xiaoyu was taken into the basement, Duan Fei was also taken into another basement shortly after. However, there were actually 5 cauldrons in his position. After lighting the torch, it recorded the first 5 moves of the Buddha's palm. Duan Fei is currently practicing and has already become the first Buddha's light emergence. He also asked Xiaoyu if he wants to learn and if he wants to learn from Duan Fei's teachings. Xiaoyu suddenly became depressed. Look at the small black prison where she has nothing. What kind of treatment is this? Duan Fei is the protagonist's treatment in the novel. Why don't you hug this thigh or be a licking dog? I quickly requested to learn. It seems that the matter of pride and self-esteem has nothing to do with Xiaoyu, and the Buddha's palm is really delicious. Quickly, the mnemonic came from the Buddha's palm. The first form of Buddha's light emerges, qi is stored in the shan, qi is transported less by merchants. The second formula is Golden Summit Buddha light. The third formula is Buddha moves mountains and rivers. The fourth equation is Buddha asks gallon. The fifth formula is the reflection of Buddhism and Dharma. Duan Fei repeated the mind techniques, mnemonics, and handprints 3 times, and Xiaoyu memorized them all in his heart. As for the Buddhist handprints contained in them, Master Xiaoyu, who had been there for 2 years, did not make them in vain. Quickly, Xiaoyu began to understand and operate the technique. Perhaps due to insufficient internal strength, he tried many times but still couldn't do it. He suspected himself, and even after consulting with Duan Fei, who had already mastered the second form, he couldn't do it. I was disappointed and thought for a moment, wondering if my way of cultivation was not right. I began to carefully recall the 2 years of Shaolin temple life of the original master. Suddenly, Xiaoyu's heart twitched as she took a basic 4-level horse stance from Shaolin, reciting the previously memorized Diamond Sutra in her mouth. Her mind was empty and she had no desires or requests. Suddenly, following the first movement of the Buddha's light appearing in the Buddha's palm, I applied my energy to my heart. I pinched my hand seal and pushed my palm forward. As expected, a swastika mark appeared in my heart and I pushed it forward. Although his power quickly dissipated, Xiaoyu did successfully cultivate the first move of the Buddha's palm. After successful cultivation, Xiaoyu told Duan Fei about reciting the Diamond Sutra, and Duan Fei also tried to recite it. Unexpectedly, Duan Fei's practice did not have much impact, so Xiaoyu felt that this cultivation method might only be suitable for Xiaoyu himself. Due to reciting the Diamond Sutra, Xiaoyu was able to complete these 5 forms of the Buddha's palm faster than Duan Fei. Unfortunately, only the first form had some power, while the other 4 forms looked good and intimidating, but only the light and shadow effects had little killing power. Duan Fei is not the same. One form is more powerful and has stronger killing power than the other. The 2 people exchanged and practiced in this way because Xiaoyu's cultivation was successful. Although it did not have much power, it was indeed successful and could provide some reference for Duan Fei. Thanks to Duan Fei's cultivation experience, Xiaoyu quickly increased the power of the Tathagata palm. The first move had already caused significant damage, and the second move could also emit a fireball that could ignite torches. Underground, regardless of the day, there have been hundreds of people delivering food above. Finally, Duan Fei's 5th move of the Buddha's palm, the reflection of Buddhism, has been successfully practiced. He can find a book garden www.zhaozhuyuan.com to create a powerful circular swastika seal, which suddenly opens the barrier between me and his cell. Xiaoyu came to Duan Fei's small black prison. Although it was small, the space here was twice that of Xiaoyu's. Duan Fei was not inferior to being the godson of the fire cloud evil god Gu Jian Soul. It was really the protagonist's treatment. This time, Xiaoyu finally personally saw these 5 bronze cauldrons. As expected, it confirmed Xiaoyu's speculation that it was not a matter of power, but rather a matter of handprints. Although Xiaoyu's Buddhist handprints were not very powerful, their ability to regulate breathing and restore power was quickly restored, and Duan Fei's cultivation did not have this effect. Quickly, the two of them were on the bronze cauldron, exchanging their fingerprints and operating techniques. Sure enough, there were deviations in their cultivation. Everyone has a different understanding of cultivation, right? The martial arts also vary according to the owner's personality, but Tathagata Divine Palm is truly a peerless martial art. If Xiaoyu had previously practiced one-finger divine skill, it could have exerted 2 to 3 times the effect of internal energy. The Buddha's palm can exert 7 to 8 times the effect, and it is indeed reasonable for ancient sword-soul battles to be won by experts with similar levels. After some communication, the 2 cultivation modes of the Tathagata Divine Palm were determined. According to Xiaoyu's proposal, Duan Fei's one was considered as passing, and Xiaoyu's one was considered as practicing. After confirmation, the two of them exchanged ideas and promoted each other's cultivation. Of course, both Xiaoyu and his cultivation are failures, but Xiaoyu is more adaptable than Duan Fei. Duan Fei can't defeat Xiaoyu without 50 moves each time. It's basically because Xiaoyu's skills don't continue that he loses. In fact, only on such days of mutual exchange can one pass the miserable time of being imprisoned. Duan Fei and Xiaoyu know that as long as they stop, they will have wild thoughts and practice hard. Their skills have indeed grown rapidly in these days. Xiaoyu also entered the mid to late stage of second rate and saw hope for a first-class realm. Good martial arts are indeed different. Chapter 8. Escape. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Escape. On this day, it was time to deliver food again. Thanks to the blessing of Duan Fei, the son of the Gu Sword Soul, the food was good. There was meat and wine in every meal. This place was cold and gloomy, with no wine or meat, and there was not enough energy in the body, which could lead to problems. But this time it was a bit different, and there was a voice coming. Someone was mocking Duan Fei, saying that he didn't understand how to cherish the power of the ancient sword soul. Now, the ancient sword soul needs wind and rain in the martial arts world. Anyway, it's not important what this person says. Xiaoyu and Duan Fei exchanged a glance and understood. They took out the grass rope they had already prepared. Tie up the heavy object, the martial arts are indeed fully enhanced, and soon the grass rope will hang on this person. Duan Fei knocked out the reflection of Buddhism on the grass rope, stunning this person. Then, with the help of this grass rope, Duan Fei lifted his lightness skills and jumped up. When he got up, he heard some sounds. Duan Fei greeted Xiaoyu, and with Duan Fei's help, Xiaoyu also jumped up. I saw a few people guarding the prison outside who had already been knocked down by Duan Fei, including the mute who brought us food. However, Duan Fei did not harm their lives. In this regard, Duan Fei is still very kind and can make friends like this. After inquiring for a while, they received news that the martial arts practitioners here had been transferred, and Gu Jianhun had also left. It was only then that Duan Fei and his companions breathed a sigh of pride. Then, Duan Fei and the others collected and scraped a lot of money, as well as food, drinks, and so on, and left. However, when he left, he still went for a stroll in the cell. Sure enough, he met the starving Tu Shuozhuan, the second miss of the Tu family, in the female cell. Alas, ugly women are not valued, and ugly women with particularly strong temperaments are even less valued. So Tu Shuozhuan was forgotten and could only take her for a good rest, take a shower, change clothes, etc. After tidying up, she decided to go to the 10,000 Poisons forest first to find the jade toad. After all, Shui Wan's face has been poisoned for too long, and she is afraid of having sequelae later. Sure enough, Duan Fei and his team made great progress in martial arts this time, and it was also very smooth to find the jade toad. After catching one, Xiaoyu dealt with it. Then find a pharmacy to prepare the medicinal herbs, put them in the prepared high-concentration wine, soak for 7 days, and let Tu Shuozhuan drink some, take it internally and use it externally, and meditate to improve her martial arts. Of course, Duan Fei and Xiaoyu should drink some of this good thing and use the practice of the Tathagata Divine Palm technique to enhance their skills. It was another 7 days, and the poison sores on Shuozhuan's face naturally fell off, making her look even better than before, and she also received 100 poison avoidance benefits. In fact, as long as you drink the prepared jade toad medicinal wine, you can get the effect of dispelling 100 poisons. However, in the confrontation with the ruthless mother, Tu Shuozhuan's dispelling 100 poisons is just more effective. Not long after Tu Shuozhuan regained her appearance and everyone was happy, there was a rumor in the martial arts world that Ouyang Hao and Lu Zhongyuan were running for the position of Wulin Alliance leader to fight against the fire cloud evil god, Gu Jianhun. Lu Zhongyuan obtained the Heavenly Salvation Divine Skill, which was on par with the Tathagata Divine Palm, defeated Ouyang Hao's 3-Ju Palm, and became the leader of the martial arts alliance. Duan Fei and Xiaoyu glanced at each other, and then Tu Shuozhuan directly said that the dart Duan Fei sent was not an empty one. The dart should have been hidden in the Heavenly Residual Divine Art, but Duan Fei's master Lu Zhongyuan was greedy. Duan Fei smiled bitterly, unsure of what to say, and then decided to ask his master Lu Zhongyuan for clarification. After the decision was made, everyone set off. More than a day later, as she was about to arrive, she missed the lodging and arrived at a dilapidated temple. However, upon arriving at the temple, she was greatly surprised to see Master Duan Fei seriously injured and lying on the ground. Her junior sister was disheveled and lying on the ground. Although surprised, Xiaoyu saw that Duan Fei was saving face and rushed to seek treatment. However, his condition was not quite right. Upon examination, he was severely injured and should have been poisoned and subjected to torture to extract a confession. Life is not long, it's too late, we can only give him a chance to shine again. After Duan Fei's agreement, let's take a silver needle to the acupoint and see what last words to leave. After waking up, Lu Zhongyuan glanced at Duan Fei first and then at his own daughter. He knew his situation and asked Duan Fei to take care of his daughter. Let's be careful, Ofen. All of this is Ofen's conspiracy. Ofen killed the wife and children of Gu Jianhun back then. Then Lu Zhongyuan began to quickly memorize the Heavenly Residual Divine Skill twice, but the third time he memorized it failed for a while. Fortunately, Xiaoyu had a good memory and had memorized it all. In fact, it was the 9-legged techniques, also known as Heavenly Residual Feet. The first formula. Heaven and earth are merciless, the second formula. Evil sea demon born, the third formula. The chaotic world of demons, the fourth formula. Bloody mountains and rivers, the fifth formula. Heavenly collapse and earth shattering, the sixth formula. Jade and stone are burned together, the seventh formula. 10,000 tribulations are difficult to recover, the eighth formula. Kill all sentient beings, equation 9. Extinction of the three realms, it is a highly insidious 9-step leg technique, which can be said to be in the Tathagata Divine Palm. Then, after placing Lu Mingwan, the junior sister of Duan Fei, Xiaoyu and Duan Fei began to practice the Heavenly Residual Divine Skill, which, like the Tathagata Divine Palm, is a profound dynamic and static skill with both inner and outer elements. To be honest, unlike the Buddha's palm, the first 8-leg techniques in the Heavenly Salvation Divine Skill are easy to practice, while the 9th move is not easy to successfully practice. The cultivation of the first 8 moves was successful, but there was a wave of yin and evil energy from the legs up. Although it did not conflict with the internal energy of the Buddha's palm, it felt that something was wrong and there was an impulse to kill, which was very strange. After thinking about it, Xiaoyu and Duan Fei gave up their cultivation. They are not killers, and the effect of Tian Kan Shen Gong is not as good as that of Tathagata Shen Palm. There is also peace of mind. Just as he was about to give up his cultivation, suddenly a person walked through from outside and fixed their eyes on him. It turned out to be the ancient sword soul. However, at this moment, the ancient sword soul asked Xiaoyu to leave, and he had something to say to Duan Fei. Although Xiaoyu was anxious in her heart, she knew that the soul of the ancient sword would not harm Duan Fei, so she left. It was not until evening that Duan Fei returned, feeling very low. It turned out that Gu Jianhun and Duan Fei had broken ties, but before Gu Jianhun left, he passed on all the last 4 moves of the Buddha's palm to Duan Fei. Looking at Xiaoyu's expectant gaze, Duan Fei thought for a moment and passed the last 4 moves to Xiaoyu. The 6th style, welcoming Buddha from the Western Heaven. Zhuji Magpie Bridge, God and Qi Harmony, inner defense of Dantian, if existent, if absent. In the 7th style, the Buddha's light shines brightly. Reaching the sun with little sky, the giant pagoda meets, the Qi meets the Dantian, and the Tai Yuan folds its fingers. The 8th form, boundless Buddha Dharma. Observing the 100 meetings in the heart, lying horizontally on a Chu pond, riding the wind in a spring. The 9th formula, 10,000 Buddhas Chaozong. Qi enters Shaoyin, blood enters Shaoyang, sand accumulates into mountains, and rivers form rivers. One form is more powerful than another, but one form is more difficult to practice. After half a year of seclusion practice with Xiaoyu and Duan Fei reached the 8th form and the Dharma was boundless. The 9th form had no clue, but Xiaoyu only reached the 7th form due to her talent and skill, and the Buddha's light shone brightly. The two continued to forget about sleep and food. Fortunately, with the presence of Lu Mingwan and Tu Shujuan, Duan Fei and Xiaoyu Cai did not starve to death. On this day, it was another practice of forgetting to eat and sleep. The two of them practiced together and made progress, and indeed gained a lot. However, on this day, Tu Shujuan brought bad news. Her sister Tu Shuahua is going to marry Ouyang Hao, and Duan Fei and Xiaoyu were surprised to meet each other. Then, Duan Fei left the stage early and prepared to see what was going on. Only Xiaoyu was left to practice hard, and it wasn't long before Xiaoyu received the news of the decisive battle between Ouyang Hao and Xiaoyu. Xiaoyu was also extremely surprised and could only give up the fishing technique 7 // that he was currently practicing because he couldn't find a way. This fishing technique is indeed quite fun. When we arrived at the competition site between Ouyang Hao and Duan Fei rode on a bamboo raft and propped up the row. At this moment, Ouyang Hao descended from the sky, and although he was surprised, his performance was also unexpected. His feet were full of evil energy, but his power was great, completely beyond people's expectations. At the beginning, Duan Fei used the fishing 7 mysterious / to entangle and fight, but the 7 mysterious / and the powerful and sinister Tian Sanjiao were indeed inferior in their skills. Soon, Duan Feiyun began to confront the enemy in the Buddha's palm, which was strange and had not been seen for more than 10 days. Duan Feiyun's skill in the Buddha's palm increased by more than 3 times. Amazing, Xiaoyu was also extremely surprised to see the meaning of some unparalleled experts engaging in decisive battles. After hundreds of moves in the battle, Ouyang's heroic luck rose, and the 9th move of heavenly salvation divine skill led to the extinction of the 3 realms. At this moment, Duan Fei also performed the 9th move of the Buddha's palm, which was a terrifying state of 10,000 Buddha pilgrimage. However, it seems that Duan Fei still lost. It's just that when their skills were on par, suddenly Duan Fei had some luck and called out, Buddha Nirvana. He seemed to have absorbed Ouyang Hao's skills and even broke through something, and then he suddenly knocked Ouyang Hao unconscious. Xiaoyu wanted to say something, but the person got stuck. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Return to daily life. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 9. Return to daily life. Xiaoyu slowly opened her eyes, hesitated for a moment, and then picked up her nearby phone to take a look. It was only after more than 2 hours. I thought to myself that this dream was so real, but what came to mind at this moment? I looked at his own right hand and it turned out that the little gourd was missing. There was only a gourd-shaped mark in his palm, right? Is this dream true? Xiaoyu carefully wiped the gourd mark on her right hand with her left hand, which was indeed what she had in mind. Although she was a bit hesitant to accept it, perhaps she had truly traveled through time. However, Xiaoyu felt that it would be great if there were a dynasty like the Qian or something magical like martial arts. Thinking of this, Xiaoyu's heart moved and she began to adjust her internal breathing using unparalleled techniques like the Buddha's palm. After adjusting for a while, my legs were numb and I felt like there was no effect at all. I began to doubt myself again whether it was a dream or a reality. On second thought, I tried again, but this time I didn't try my advanced martial arts skills, and I tried the basic Shaolin techniques in my memory. Isn't it true that all the martial arts in the world come from Shaolin? There are also many Shaolin martial arts performances in China now, combining Zen and martial arts, which have a strong artistic atmosphere. Many young children have signed up for Shaolin martial arts training classes, which not only look good but also strengthen their bodies. Thinking of this, I got off the bed and began to stab a 4-ping horse. Although I remember it in the world of martial arts, I should be very good at it, and the stab was also very standard. In less than 30 seconds, her thighs and calves began to tremble. She lowered her eyes and looked down. Xiaoyu's own fat and thick legs, as well as her chubby belly, were a bit depressed. She felt that her body was still too weak, so she had to sit back in bed and rest. After resting for a while, sit on the bed and adjust your breathing, using the basic breathing techniques you have learned before. This method is simple, just adjusting your breathing pattern and frequency. This is good, it feels like entering meditation, and it feels like a light sleep, quickly becoming addicted to it. If it weren't for being hungry, Xiaoyu would probably have had another time. Fortunately, as a half otaku, Xiaoyu still had some dry food to store. After a simple hunger relief, Xiaoyu also regained his senses. I feel a little too anxious about suddenly wanting to practice martial arts. Based on Xiaoyu's own experience in the martial arts world, I only started practicing martial arts in my 30s, which is probably too late and it should be difficult to reach the peak of martial arts. The most important thing is what can be achieved when reaching the pinnacle of martial arts. In modern society, if we really want to harm others, we probably won't be able to afford to lose everything. It's estimated that Xiaoyu will be beaten into dice or fried into pieces. So now practicing martial arts is just a hobby and a means of strengthening one's body. Currently, we still need to find a job, and it's not enough to just sit on the sidelines. In today's society, having no money is a crime against oneself. Xiaoyu thought about herself. Because she came from an orphanage at a young age and had an extreme personality, she couldn't resist it. Because of this, in a group fight, she became a top hero due to so-called loyalty, and was expelled from school. Then came the wandering and working life in society. Actually, Xiaoyu didn't say it on his lips, but he himself envied those who had studied and had knowledge the most. Otherwise, he wouldn't have listened either. An old friend suggested getting an adult vocational degree. Although it cost a lot of money and only taught on weekends, not full-time, it was because of this degree that Xiaoyu was able to transition from an ordinary worker to a technician. But Xiaoyu didn't say anything about it, but she still cherished it very much. Later, she also met her first girlfriend while studying. However, due to her personality, she couldn't bear the verbal stimulation and various demands of her mother-in-law. She still lost to reality and chose to quit. As for what job to look for, based on Xiaoyu's own work experience, it should be in a mechanical processing factory, looking for a position like a technician. However, with this in mind, Xiaoyu opened her computer and searched for books such as the 4 books and 5 classics on the website. Sure enough, the 4 books, De Shui, Analects of Confucius, Mencius, and The Doctrine of the Mean, appeared, as well as the 5 books, Shijing, Shangshu, Li Ji, Zhou Yi, and Spring and Autumn. Open a book casually, and as expected, it is not only memorized by oneself, but also understood by oneself. Not only can I understand, but I also have my own understanding. This memory has indeed been preserved, well preserved, so I can be considered a talent in ancient Chinese literature. However, unfortunately, in modern society, I can probably hold it and cannot make money. Unfortunately. By the way, I seem to know more about medical skills. When I thought of this, I quickly searched for traditional Chinese medicine works such as the Emperor's Inner Canon, and then quickly became addicted to it. While watching Xiaoyu, I was cursing my mother at the same time. With so much medical experience, I didn't even know it before. Surprisingly, it was all free online, with a lot of medical knowledge and explanations, and I was thrilled to see it. Many things were peerless medical classics in ancient times, and they should have been kept very confidential. They can be used as a secret recipe for the inheritance of medical families, but now they are everywhere on the internet. With Xiaoyu's current medical experience, I can feel that these are all true, and I have searched for some information about traditional Chinese medicine. Surprisingly, it's in a place that claims to be the National Institute of Traditional Chinese Medicine or something like that. I have discovered thousands of traditional Chinese medicine formulas, and these formulas are actually displayed in a grand manner. Many of them are actually secret formulas from the past palace, which made Xiaoyu's eyes fall out. The hidden soul of studying medicine made Xiaoyu immediately excited. Unfortunately, she was too poor to study these theories, but these theories were definitely a mystery that never passed down in ancient times. Zhaozuiyuan.com. Of course, this kind of medicine is for saving and nurturing people, which is too precious. If the legendary divine doctor in ancient times knew about it, he would go crazy. A month passed quickly, and on this day, Xiaoyu was sitting with a 4-square horse in front of a computer desk. Recently, due to a habit in her soul, Xiaoyu still had the help of the mark on the gourd in her right hand. Now Xiaoyu is able to use basic breathing techniques to tie up a 4-level horse, which can last for 1 to 2 hours, and sometimes he can forget the time when browsing medical works on the web page. At this point, the horse stance and breathing techniques last longer and are healthier for the body, as evidenced by the fat lost in one's thighs and lower abdomen. Unfortunately, Xiaoyu also searched for some martial arts secrets himself, and there are some. They are quite good, but it feels like they are all health and wellness exercises. Although they also have some effects on pulling ligaments, strengthening tendons and bones, and nourishing the mind in contemplation. But it's far from what I imagined, so I can only increase Xiaoyu's understanding and research on the human body, this great treasure. After all, everyone sees different results and effects, especially when it comes to the study of Western esoteric Buddhism on the 3 meridians and 7 chakras of the human body, as well as yoga techniques. It is also surprising. Based on one's own martial arts cultivation, it can also be seen that this is a systematic direction for studying the human body, which can be justified and benefit many people. I am even more convinced of the theory of the human body as a great treasure. That night, I was once again studying some esoteric female yoga techniques. I don't know if I like their body movements or if I like this newly discovered way of studying the human body. Just as she lay down, Xiaoyu felt like she should really find a girlfriend or something. She only felt a hot sensation in her right palm, and then she didn't know. Chapter 10. Divine Eagle Heroes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Divine Eagle Heroes. Awakening. In a daze again, Xiaoyu had already begun to accept the memories of the original body owner. Surprisingly, a country called Song had arrived, and this original body owner was also named Xiaoyu. At the same age as Xiaoyu, he also has a good status. He is the five-bag elder of the Beggars sect, the largest gang in the world, and currently holds the position of deputy helmsman in Jianxing. It's not bad to become an official now. There are dozens of subordinates who can work hard for him. This is really hard work, unlike what is said in modern times. But now, how can I become obsessed with it? I remember that the master of the Central Plains Lord, the eminent monk of the Dali Tianlong Temple, Master Kumu, offended the martial arts immortally macho 10 years ago because of the Lu Zhanyuan and Huan Jun couple in the Lu family village. He went to work as a guarantor, and only 10 years of peace had passed in Lujiazwang. The original owner Xiaoyu and his family came to Dali, Yunnan to avoid the war more than 10 years ago due to the southern invasion of Mongolian Tartars. Later, by chance, the original owner Xiaoyu became a disciple under the master of withered wood at the Tianlong Temple in Dali. However, later on, the Tang Dynasty in Mongolia became more peaceful, and he missed his homeland and moved his family back to Jianxing in the Tang Dynasty. You can encounter bandits and their entire family perishing on the way. Xiaoyu escaped a calamity because he worked as a shaman under Master Kuki, but after this incident, he had no intention of becoming a monk and returned to secular life. After returning home and burying the family, my life was in a period of confusion. Later, I saw a great gang of beggars in the world who were chivalrous and righteous, very righteous. I also heard that the current leader of the Beggars sect is Huang Rong, the wife of Guo Jing, the great hero guarding Xiangyang. Huang Rong was also a disciple of Hong Qigong, the former leader of the five great northern beggar in the world, and Huang Rong herself is the daughter of Huang Yaoshi, the eastern evil among the five great northern beggar in the world. And Huang Rong herself is also extremely intelligent. Over the years, under the leadership of Huang Gang leader, the Beggars sect has developed better, so the original leader Xiaoyu joined the Beggars sect. And because he became a monk at Tianlong Temple, with a good foundation in martial arts and a righteous heart, he quickly promoted in the Beggars sect within a few years. Now it is time to break away from the four-pocket disciples and advance to the five-pocket elder and deputy helmsman. It can be said that you have officially entered the management level of the Beggars sect. Just a while ago, I received traces of the activities of the Red Practice Fairy Li Macho in Jianxing, and remembered the instructions from my master, Master Kuki, in his early years. So, I sent a letter to Master Kuki. Not long after, Master Kuki arrived at the Jianxing branch of the Beggars sect. On the one hand, Master Kuki came to see the Lujiazwang. If he could resolve this grudge and make the Red Snake Fairy Li Macho turn around, it could be said to be a great merit. On the other hand, I didn't expect my disciples to do well in the Beggars sect and have some reputation in the martial arts world. I also earned a lot of money for him as a master. This time, I want to pass on the family's One Young Finger to Xiaoyu. The famous name of One Young Finger is also very famous in the martial arts world, and as the famous skill of the five wonders of the Southern Emperor, it also has a somewhat legendary color in the martial arts world. The original owner Xiaoyu was overjoyed and quickly arranged for the gang members to wait for the news of Red Practice Fairy Li Macho, while learning One Young Finger from Master Kuki. After years of practicing Buddhist internal skills at the Tianlong Temple in Dali, Xiaoyu has also gained some foundation in his internal skills. Soon, his One Young Finger technique reached the 9th grade level. In fact, at the beginning, the difficulty of the One Young Finger cultivation method was not too high, and it could only be considered a second-rate cultivation method. However, the cultivation method was mysterious and somewhat unexpected, with astonishing potential. Most people focus on the inner world when practicing cultivation methods. Unless it is a unique skill, the general practitioner of martial arts can only apply their skills to the outside world and use their internal strength to harm the enemy if their skills are particularly strong. The One Young Finger technique is one of the few second-rate techniques that utilizes one's own internal breathing and qi to harm others. But it is only by reaching a certain level that one can harm others. According to the instructions of the original Master Xiaoyu, Master Kuki, this Young Finger technique is divided into 9 levels. Only by reaching a certain level can one's finger power be detached from the body and cause harm. For the worst level 9, the finger power can be detached by 1 foot from the body, while for the highest level 1, the finger power can even unleash an external killing power of 1 foot. This also increases with the improvement of the level skill. And Master Kuki only reached the 4th level of cultivation, with a finger strength of up to 6 feet and a strength that can be divided into 6 streams. He can be considered a top-level expert in the martial arts world, and even idle people cannot defeat him. Red Practice Fairy Li Macho is also a first-class expert, but he cannot defeat Master Kuki. If it weren't for Master Kuki being a monk, he would have killed Li Macho long ago, and there wouldn't be anything today. Later, Li Macho appeared, and the original owner Xiaoyu also introduced himself with a young finger. The next step was to self-study. Master Kumu went to deal with Li Macho, and the original owner Xiaoyu thought that this matter should be very simple. He didn't think much about it, so he didn't go. Instead, he intensified his time to cultivate the one young finger technique. Unexpectedly, news came that Master Kuki had been ambushed and killed by Li Macho's hidden weapon. Suddenly, the original owner Xiaoyu collapsed and frantically intensified his cultivation of one young finger, hoping to avenge his mentor Master Kuki. Unfortunately, due to a lack of speed, he forcefully practiced the 8th level finger power, but was bounced back by the technique. Although he barely entered the 8th level realm, his finger power was 2 feet. In great joy, he was devoured by the technique and suddenly became possessed by the demon. At this time, he was possessed by the modern Xiaoyu, who now browses a lot of medical knowledge and some health preservation techniques online. Among them, there are actually the Yi Jin Jing and Shi Sui Jing in Shaolin Temple. Of course, they are very famous, but after reading them, they feel a bit fake and do not live up to their name. However, some health-preserving and breath-regulating techniques, such as calming down demons and nourishing the mind, should be true. I have tried them and they are indeed very nourishing, and the breath regulation has become smoother. At present, Xiaoyu turned around, feet facing upwards, hands supporting the ground, and adjusted her breathing to return to her original state. The effect was surprisingly good, and the body's disordered internal breathing quickly returned to its original path of practice. Not only that, but it also felt that the body's internal strength had greatly improved, breaking through the realm that had been unbeatable for many years and entering the ranks of second-rate masters. Just as she was thinking about it, Xiaoyu suddenly felt a strong odor on her body. When she turned over, she suddenly felt a lot of putty on her body. Does this technique of returning to the source still have the effect of easy tendons and washing marrow, allowing oneself to transform? But let's wash it off first. Although I'm dressed as a beggar and usually don't look very clean, it's too dirty and ugly now. I quickly left the cultivation room and went outside. In the Jiangnan region, there were small lakes everywhere. Although the weather was not too hot, I still jumped in and had a good time cleaning. Coming out of the water, Xiaoyu felt like she had lost a few pounds of ash, her whole body had become much lighter, and her skin was fair and delicate, a bit different from Xiaoyu's original self. Since it has been cleaned and eaten, Xiaoyu has continued to practice. She is still using the inverted return to life technique she summarized earlier. Unfortunately, this time it has been a long time, and although she feels that her breathing is smoother, she no longer feels like her internal strength has increased significantly and her tendons and marrow have been washed away. Perhaps it was due to being possessed by a madness. Originally, the body was on the brink of life and death, but when it flipped over, it stimulated one's potential. The human body is indeed a great treasure, and one does not know one's potential until it reaches the critical point. Xiaoyu tried his 8th grade and one young finger strength according to his memory. Although the speed was slower, the force that was 2 feet away from him was indeed somewhat frightening. I didn't expect the internal strength in my body to be so solid and long-lasting. However, the loss of internal strength was a bit rapid and significant. Thinking about this, I received internal strength and adjusted it a bit. I want to prepare to try out the Tathagata Divine Palm. Unfortunately, someone suddenly came to inform me that I had already said hello in advance. It's not a big deal for most people, so don't disturb me.